Rob here from Unimedia, and in this video we are going to be building a homepage. Stay tuned. At Unimedia, we help companies to grow and thrive using the latest tools, tricks, and marketing techniques. From websites to online marketing, automated sales funnels, social media, and much more. We're always releasing new content on our YouTube channel, so make sure you click the like, subscribe, and notification button to make sure that you don't miss out. Just before we get going, I want to tell you about an exclusive offer we have on at the moment. We're giving away free access to our paid Hub platform to the first 50 people that click the link in the description. We're going to be putting this link in the description of all of our videos, so make sure that you get in there as quick as you can. Within Hub we have created over 100 training videos in 13 courses, including a course on how to build a website using Elementor. You'll also find recorded webinars and a host of other free content, so remember to click the link in the description. Let's get on with the video. Hello and welcome to this video. It goes without saying this is probably the video you most want to see. In this video we are going to be building an entire homepage including a nav bar and a footer. Before we start building, we'll go through creating pages, setting up our menus, setting a homepage, we'll add a site logo, and we'll also look at a few additional settings such as permalinks. Some of these settings you may not understand, but that is okay. If you follow our lead, everything should work out fine. The aim of this video is to start putting everything we've learned about sections, columns, and elements into practice. I won't be stopping and explaining everything I do in this demo, as there will be other videos that go into these details. But one thing I do want to get into your mind is the idea of building your web pages one step at a time. What I mean by this is making a section, going through the layout, style, and advanced, adding your elements, going through content, style, and advanced settings. When you're finished with one section, then you move on to the other. We could, in theory, be making this video more efficient by showing you the theme style or building with the theme style settings. However, using the theme style assumes that you know your colors, you know your fonts, you know how you want your buttons to look. And what we really want to do in this is get you used to using every element, going through all the fine details, because that will make you a better designer at the end of the day. There is a separate video on how to use the theme style settings in Elementor, so go and check that out if you already have your colors, your button styles, and your fonts, and then come back to this video and see how we build our pages. So this will be a longer video than others, but when you come out the other side, you'll be well on your way to making your own web pages. During this video, you can either follow along and do as I do, or feel free to pause, explore other options, create different pages, and use different fonts and colors to what I will be using. So let's begin, and thank you so much for watching. So before we start building, there's a couple of things that we need to do. We need to install a theme, we need to install a couple of plugins, and set a few settings. So the first thing I want to do is install a theme. I'm going to go to Appearance, I'm going to go to Themes, I'm going to add new, and in the search bar I'm just going to search for Hello Theme, and this is the theme that Elementor recommend. So I'm going to install this. We're going to then click Activate, and now we can see that Hello Theme is now our theme for our website. We've got some other themes here which are deactivated, and we can delete those if we want to. We can just click on them and click delete, click OK. So I'm just going to delete the others as well, as we don't need these. And now we want to install something called Classic Editor. Now if I just quickly go to posts, we can see that I've made a couple of posts. If I click into one, we can see we've got this kind of editor. In a moment you'll see that this will be different, because when we start using the Classic Editor plugin, this will change the layout to the previous layout that WordPress used, which I find more accessible. You don't have to install Classic Editor plugin, it's just my personal preference. Everything that I will show you will still be available in the sidebar here, should you need to. But let's go back. We're going to go to Plugins, Add New, and we can already see I don't even need to search for this. 5+ million active installations, Classic Editor here. I'm going to install now and then activate. If I now go back to those posts we can see that we've got this different layout. The content's still there, but I find that the settings on the right are more accessible. All websites need pages, and that's what we'll do next. We'll go over to the left here, we'll click Pages, we'll click Add New, and the first page I want to make is the home page. So I'm going to just type in Home there as our title. On the right, I'm going to select the default template to Elementor Full Width and click Publish. You can click Save to Draft if you want. If you're adding new pages to an existing website that's live, just bear in mind that people will be able to access them. Let's add a few more pages. So let's go to Add New, and I want About Us, Full Width again, and Publish. Add New, Services, Full Width, Publish, Add New. I'm going to put latest news, and that would be something like a blog page perhaps. Again, Elementor Full Width, Publish, Add New, Contact Us, Template, Elementor Full Width, and Publish. Let's now just go to Pages here, and we can see that we've now got a home, about, contact us, latest news, services. I'm just going to delete these other ones. So we now have our 5 pages, and we need to make a menu so that a menu appears in our navigation bar when we come to make it. So on the left here, Appearance, we're going to go to Menus. So we can see here that WordPress has tried to make a default menu. The only thing in this that we don't want here is this custom homepage link. Let's remove that, and we're just going to reorder our pages. Remember, if you want a page to be a drop-down item, all you have to do is shift it to the right underneath the parent page, like so. A good example might be that latest news you want underneath Contact Us. If there are some pages that you want to add to this, all you have to do is view all or most recent, and you just have to tick the pages you want to add to the menu and then click Add to Menu. You can also add posts if you want, custom links, type in the URL, what you want the link to say, and then add to menu, and categories if you want to as well. This is the menu that I want though, and I'm happy with the name Main Menu, so I'm just going to click Create Menu. So we've got down here the display location. I'm going to tick that as primary, as this will be our main navigation menu. Because I've just ticked this, I'm just going to click Save Menu to save that setting. We're now going to go over to Customize, and in here I'm going to go to the Homepage Settings. I'm going to select a static page, and then under Homepage I'm going to find Home. And now, although we can't see the example because we haven't made a homepage yet, we have just set the page or the default homepage to be our homepage. So I'm going to click Publish to save those settings. I'm then going to go backwards on this arrow. I'm just going to go to Menus quickly and check our primary menu is set. Yeah, it's brought that through, so we're happy with that. And on the right here, we can see that the default navigation bar has brought through our main menu. It's also brought through the site identity, which we're going to look at now. So we're going to click on site identity. I've already pre-filled this in, so the reliable accountant and a tagline. And in the example, I've just said accounting that is reliable. We're going to add a logo then. So I'm going to click select logo. So we haven't got our logo in the media library, so I'm going to upload that. I'm just going to go to our files. I've got our logo here. I'm going to drag that into our media library. I'm going to click select. I'm going to skip the cropping, and we can see our logo is now in our default navbar. We are going to customize a navbar in a moment, but this is what the theme brings through if you haven't set one. We could also set a site icon. I'm going to click that. I'm going to select our logo again, and then I'm just going to move this over to the pound sign. I'm just going to go with that for now. I'm going to crop the image. And now, as we can see in this little demonstration here, that's what our fav icon or site icon will look like. So I'm going to click Publish to save those settings. And the last setting I want to set, I'm going to click this X here, Going down to settings here to permalinks. By default, WordPress has set the permalinks to /page ID, which is normally p equals and then a number. I actually want this to be / and then the name of the page. So I'm going to select post name. So now it will be / about us, for example. I'll save those changes. And now we are ready to begin building. And we're going to start with our navbar. To begin building our navbar, then we just need to go over to templates on the left. Go up to add new. In the drop down, we're going to select header. And then we're going to add a name. And I'm just going to go with navbar. Then click create template. And Elementor will present us with a load of preset navigation bars. All these navigation bars that you can see here are only available with Elementor Pro. So for the purposes of this video, and for those who are watching who don't have Elementor Pro, I will be building the navigation bar from scratch. However, using a preset is actually a very great and efficient way at building a navigation bar, because all you have to do is change the colors, the content, and so on. In these parts where I'll be building, I won't go into details about my decisions, but if you follow along using fonts and colors of your choice, you'll have a working navigation bar, a homepage, and a footer by the end of this video. Feel free to pause it at any time to catch up or go back over what I've just been through, but let's begin. So I won't be using any of these pre-built navigation bars then. You can find a link to Elementor on the useful website tools page, which you can access via the hub main area. So let's close this window with the X here. And the first thing I need to do is add a section. So let's click the cross here. And I've already decided that I want my navigation to be made up of 3 columns. I'm going to have a logo here. I'm going to have my menu in the middle. And then I'm going to have some social media icons on the right here. So the first thing I'm going to do on the left is I'm going to make the height 100 pixels. I'm going to go over to style. And I'm going to make sure that the background color is set to white. We might come back through some of these settings in a moment, but I'm going to get the content in, and then we can then style the sort of section around those. But let's put some content in. Let's click the grid here. Let's drag in our site logo. And as you can see, that's brought it through without me having to go through the media library. That's because we set this in the settings earlier. We'll leave it this size for now, but I will shrink that in a moment. I then want the menu, so I'm going to go to the element grid here. I'm going to go to nav menu and I'm going to drag that into the middle. Of course, these are bunched up at the moment, but we will sort that in a moment. Then finally, I want the social media icon. So I'm going to go back to the grid here. I'm going to search social, and there we've got social icons. I'm going to drag that in there, and we'll change those in a moment. So the first thing I want to do is make this logo a bit smaller. I could go into the settings of the logo, clicking this blue pencil. I could go to style and then change the width like so. But actually I want this to be 100% of the column. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to shrink the column width down. So I've just gone into the settings of the column here. And I'm going to change the column width to 25%. To make more room for our menu then, I'm going to do a very similar thing on the right here with this right column. I'm going to go to the settings of this column here. And I'm going to change this one to about 20%. We might adjust that in a moment again. So let's now style our menu. Find the blue pencil of our menu element here. I'm happy with the menu that is chosen. We only have one menu made, so main menu is what we want. The layout, horizontal, we do have vertical and drop down, but I am going to go with horizontal. The alignment, I'm going to center for now. The pointer, which is the line underneath, as you hover over, I'm going to keep this underline, and I'm quite happy with those other settings. We've got the mobile drop down here. If I go into the mobile preview at the bottom, this is what this is referring to. I'm going to go through making this mobile responsive in the next Let's Build video, but if you want to play around with those now, this is where you can find some settings, and it's the same for style as well. We'll come to that in a moment. So let's go back to desktop preview. So let's now look at styling the fonts and some of the colors of our nav menu. So if we go to style, we've got typography, There is a video for the typography tool. I'm going to skip right through this, choose my family and the size, but if you want to know a bit more about the tool, go and check that video out. It's going to be something that you're going to use quite a lot. So I know that I want to use Open Sans for my font. REM, let's go for 1, and the weight I'm going to leave on 100 for now. All these things I can change later on if I decide that I'm not happy with them. So let's close that. We've got normal, hover and active options here. So the text color is currently a grey. I'm just going to make sure it's a dark grey. When we hover over it, I want the text to go green. You can see that happening now. The pointer color goes green, and the active color, so that will be the page that we're currently on, I will actually go with the green as well, and the pointer I will keep clear. We then got the pointer width, so let's have a look. 16 being very, very thick, so I'm just going to go down to maybe 2, so it's a thin line there. I quite like the padding of the menu, but you can see how this affects our menu if we play around with those. But I'm going to go with the defaults. I actually quite like those as they are. So I'm happy with those main menu settings there. So let's go to drop down, and we don't actually have a drop down menu here. However, this would also style our drop down menu when we're in mobile preview mode. I'm going to switch to mobile preview mode now, and we can see what we have. We've got our toggle here, and I actually don't mind this default style, so I'm just going to leave that as it is for now. And then we've got the toggle button, which is this button here. So we've got the color. I'm going to go with white, and then the background color I'm going to make green perhaps. We've got border width. I'm not having a border on this. We've got the size of the button. Perhaps we could make it a little bit bigger, maybe 25. And the radius, I want sharp angles, so I'm going to go with 0. Ideally, we would make this toggle button go onto the right or the left of this logo, just to reduce the size of our nav bar. But again, as I mentioned earlier, that will be in the mobile responsive Let's Build video. So let's go back up to desktop preview then. We've got advanced settings. I'm not going to do anything with these. The padding is fine for me at the moment. That's something we'll probably look at either at the end of the video or maybe in the mobile responsive video, depending on how things look. Let's have a look at our social media icons. So let's find the blue pencil then of our icon element. And we can see we've got our Facebook, Twitter and YouTube items here. So we can open up these items and edit them. So I don't want YouTube. I'm going to change the icon instead to LinkedIn. All we have to do is search in the search bar for what we need. And then I'm going to insert. And that's changed it. We've got the links to our social media platforms. So for example, it might be facebook.com/UnoMedia. Just grab those links and put them in here. We've also got the color options. So we've got official colors, or we can do custom colors. So for example, we could change them to our branding. However, I'm actually going to leave them on the official colors. We can add more items if we want to, and then we can also delete, we can also duplicate, but I'm just going to delete that one. Rounded, square or circle, and I'm going to go with square. Alignment, I'm going to go align to the right because I want the space on either side of the nav menu to be equal. So pushing these right over to the side here will even that out with the logo here. Let's quickly style then. So as I said earlier, I want the official color. We do have the size. I do like the default, so I'm going to leave that. And again, the padding, I like the default, but that is how it affects it. The padding is the spacing between the icon itself and the edge of the icon. But I do like default. Let's go with that. And we've also got spacing between each icon. And again, default works well for me. I'm not going to have a border in this case. And icon hover, we've got some animations here. And I'm going to go with grow. As you can see, when I hover over, they now grow. So I actually quite like the navigation bar that we've got going on here. The last thing I need to do is make the nav bar sticky, which means when we scroll down the page on desktop, tablet and mobile, the navigation bar stays at the top. So in the section settings, just these 6 white dots here, go to advanced. We're going to go to motion effects, and here is sticky. We just go over to the drop down and we select top. We can decide whether we want this to be on desktop, tablet or mobile, and I want this to be on all 3, and I won't bother with any offsetting or any entrance animations. To separate it from the page, I'm actually going to add a drop shadow, and I'm going to go to style. I'm going to go down to border, and here we've got the box shadow settings. I'm just going to click the pencil. This is the default. I'm actually just going to go into the color. I'm going to go down to the transparency, and I'm going to reduce that a little bit so it's more subtle. There we go. There is a video on how to use this color picker tool. Again, it's a tool you're going to use a lot, so go and check that out. Let's close that and let's preview. So I'm going to click this hide panel tab here, and to me that looks like a nav bar that we could use for now. Let's open that side panel up then, and I think there's a little spacing issue here perhaps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the menu settings, and I think I'm going to look at the alignment here. I'm going to go with stretch, and that just sort of spaces them out a little bit more evenly. I think maybe we also need to look at the column width here and reduce that slightly. Now I'm happy with this navigation bar. I can come back to it whenever I want and make some changes, but I am happy with this for now, and I think we should move on to making our homepage. So to make sure that this navigation bar appears across our website on every page, we go down to publish, we add a condition, and by default the first option is to include it on the entire site. We can also make special rules to exclude, or if we wanted to, we could actually make this appear only on certain pages or posts or in categories and so on. But I do want this to be the entire site. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to click save and close. So now we need to move on to making our homepage. Let's go to the top left, click the burger menu, and exit to dashboard. To edit our homepage, we go to pages on the left, and we've got home. Let's click on that, and to begin building, all we have to do is click edit with Elementor. Our first section then is going to be a hero or header image. So it's going to be a large image with a heading in it and a button as well that will take our visitors over to the contact page. So to add our first section, we're going to click the pink plus, and I want this section to be just one column. Most of these settings are what I want them to be. I'm going to change the height to a minimum height of 700, and the column position I want to be in the middle. This is the middle here, so if I went top, you can see how it goes to the top, and stretch would take up the entire height of the column. So I'm just going to go with middle. So that's the layout. I'm then going to go over to style, and I want to add a background image. So I'm going to go to the background type here. I'm going to go to classic. We've got our image box here. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to drag in this image for our heading. So I'm going to insert, and then I'm going to change the position to center. I'm going to go with a fixed position, then no repeat, and the size I'm going to select is cover. I know that when I drag in my heading that any white font is not going to stand out very well on this, so I'm going to add a background overlay. I'm going to go to the classic again. I'm going to go to color, and I'm going to select the black. I'm probably going to darken this slightly more as well, maybe up to 0.6. So I'm happy with my layout and my style. I'm not going to do anything in advanced at the moment until I've put in some content, and then I'll know whether I need to do anything in that. And that's the same for like shape dividers. I might come back in a moment and do a shape divider, but let's add some content. So let's go to our grid, drag in our heading tile. I could put a logo in here if I wanted to, but I'm just going to type in the title here of the reliable accountant. Let's get rid of that. There we go. I'm not going to make it link. Size is fine. HTML tag I'm going to leave on H2, and the alignment I'm going to change to center. Let's go to the style next. Text color I want to be white. typography, font family, let's go for Montserrat, size 3, weight, let's have a look at bold, yep, we'll go with that, and the letter spacing, let's go with 6. Let's close that. Text shadow I'm going to leave off, and I won't do anything in advanced. So I'm happy with content and I'm happy with style. Let's now add some subtext. Go to our grid, text editor, I'm going to drag that in, and in our text block here I'm going to type in the firm you need for your accounting. So content wise I'm happy. Let's now go over to style, alignment, center, text, white, typography. Let's go to Open Sans, which is what we used in our menu, size 1.2 rem and a weight of 100. I'll leave the rest of those settings, so I don't need to look at the column settings here, and again advanced I'm quite happy with these things at the moment. So let's now add a button. Back to our elements grid at the top left, go to the button element, drag that in underneath our text. The type I'm going to leave text, I'm just going to say contact us. The link, so I could go to the contact page, I could grab the URL, but I can actually search in here contact and it will automatically pick up the contact us page, and I click that and the link has now been made. Alignment, I want center as well to align with our text and our heading. Size, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and go with medium. I'm not going to go with an icon. Perhaps I could add in an icon of a telephone or something, but I'm going to leave this as it is. So now I'm happy with the content. I'm going to go over to style, typography, font family. Let's go with Open Sans again, rem 1.2, weight 100 and 300 the same in this case. Let's go with 100 then. I'm going to close those typography settings, and the text color I'm going to have as green and the background color white. For hover, I want this to reverse, so I want the text color to go white and then the background color to go green, and as you can see that changes when we hover over. We could even add an animation here, so let's go with grow. There we go. I don't think I want a border in this case, so I'm going to select none, but the border radius I would like to be 50 pixels all the way around. If I wanted to have one of the corners sharp, I could unlink them, and let's say the left one I could remove, and that does that. But to link those back up I just need to click the chain, and we've got 50 pixels around that radius. So lastly then on the button, let's add a box shadow. I'm going to have a look at the color. I'm going to make sure it is black, and then I'm going to reduce this to about 0.3 I think. We'll go with that. So let's have a look at what we've done. Let's hide this panel here. As you can see, we've already got what looks to be a home page being created here. So we've got our nav bar at the top, and we've got our hero image. So let's open this side panel up, and let's make this look a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to go to the section settings here. I'm going to click the 6 white dots here. I'm going to go to shape divider, and I'm going to select bottom, and in type I'm going to go with tilt. I'm going to make sure the color is white, and I think I'm going to go with a height of let's go with 100. Let's do one last check, hide the panel, and yeah, I'm really happy with that. So I think it's time to move on to our second section. Let's open up our side panel again, go to our pink cross, and this time I want 2 columns, so I'm going to select that, and then we're going to go through a very similar process. We're going to go through the layout, the style, perhaps some advanced settings, then we're going to add our content. We'll do the content, style, and so on, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll start working on a sort of a pattern as you build, making a section, going through the settings of that and the style, then adding the content, going through the settings of that and then the style and so on. So let's edit the layout and style of our new section. So the 6 white dots here to enter the settings. Layout then, I don't want to stretch it. I'm happy that it's boxed width. Of course it was full width. The content that we put in would stretch across the entire width. I'm just going to go with boxed. One thing I do want to change is the minimum height, and I think I'm going to go for around 500. That's 500 in pixels. The column position I want middle, and I'm going to vertically align in the middle as well. That will be visible when we start adding the content. Let's go into the style settings then. I'm going to make sure that the background color of this is just a solid white. And I think I'm going to come back and do a shape divider at the end when we move on to the next section. So let's now add our content. So we need to go to our grid again at the top. And the first thing I want is a heading. And I'm going to pop that into our left column here. And I'm just going to write about us. I don't want it to link. Happy with the size. The HTML tag, I'm going to set to H3, as this isn't sort of a major heading, if you like. It's just a subheading. I'm going to go over to style. The text color I want to be this dark gray. Typography, I'm going to find Montserrat again. I'm going to select that. REM of 3 and white bold. And to match our heading in our hero image here, I'm going to make the letter spacing, I think it was 6. Let's close that. I won't add a text shadow, and the blending mode I will leave on normal. So now we want some text, so let's go to our grid again, go to our text editor and drop that in. Content wise, I have copied some content and I'm just going to paste that in. If you are copying from a Word document, you may need to open up the toolbar, highlight all of your words and clear formatting. This is because it may carry over the styling from your Word document, and when you go into style and try to set the font family or the sizes, you may find that it doesn't work. So all you have to do is highlight the text, click clear formatting. So now we've got our text in there. Let's style this. Let's go to style, alignment left, the text color I also want to be this dark gray, typography, open sans, 1.2 rem and a weight of 100 to match the rest of our text. I'm happy with the rest of those settings. That's content and style. In advance then, I am going to set a margin on the right to bring this text over a little bit more, just to add a little bit more style to our page. And we'll see that once we've added an image on the right here, we'll kind of see how that works together. So I'm going to unlink these because I want to just set the value in the right. I'm going to make sure it's on %, and I'm going to set this to 37. So we can see how that makes some white space on the right of our text editor here. So let's add a button then. I'm going to go to the grid again, button element, drag that underneath our text. In here, I'm going to put in our story. I'm going to link our About Us page. So I'm going to type in About Us. I can see that's come up, so I'm going to click that. That's made the link. Alignment left, size, I'm going to go with medium. And this time I'm going to add an icon. And I'm going to search for a chevron, and I'm going to go with this one here and click insert. I also want this to be on the right or after our text. And content wise, I'm now happy with this. Let's go to the style. So we'll go style, typography. I'm going to go with open sans again. REM of 1.2 and a weight of 100. Let's close that. Text color, I'm going to go with white text and a green background, and on hover I'm going to have green text on a white background, and we see how that works there. Animation, let's have another grow animation. Border, none, but the radius I want 50 pixels all the way around again. And this time I'm going to add a box shadow. And to match the other one, I'm going to go with solid black. And I'm just going to bring the transparency down to, I think we had it on 0.3. Let's close that. And as you can see, we've got a nice looking button there. Padding, I'm going to leave blank. I do like the default padding around our text, so I'm going to leave that as it is. So now we need to add an image to the right here. So I'm going to go back to our element grid. I'm going to go to the image tile here, and I'm going to drag that in. In the choose image option here, I don't want any of these images here. I want this one. So I'm going to drag this in from my computer files, and I'm going to insert media. Image size, I'm going to have on full large polyworks. If we went for thumbnail, this would reduce it down to a thumbnail size. I'm just going to go with full, so it's full quality resolution, if you like. Alignment, I'm going to leave on default. This is center. Caption, I'm going to leave blank, and I won't link this either. So we've done content. Let's go over to style. The width, I would like to be 100% of the column. Opacity on normal and in hover, I just want it to be as it is. I don't want anything fancy for this. I'm not going to add a border or some CSS filters here. I'm going to leave the radius blank as well, but I do want to add a box shadow just to bring it off of the page. And the box shadow I'm going to use is going to be the same as my buttons, so it all matches together. So solid black and a transparency of 0.3. I may even mess around with the settings here. Horizontal, I like that. Vertical's fine. Let's increase the blur. Maybe to 26. And spread to maybe 5. Let's go with that. So if I hover over our section, then we can see that we've got a small amount of space above and below our section. So I'm going to add some padding to this. I'm going to go to the 6 white dots on our section, and in advanced I'm just going to add 3% padding all the way around and see how that looks. Let's go with that for now. And now I'm going to go into style of our section. I'm going to go to shape divider. I'm going to go to the bottom, and I'm going to add another tilt divider. This time I want the color to be a light gray. I want the height of this divider to match the other one, so I'm just going to put 100 in that again. And now looking at this, I can see that I need just a little bit more space underneath here, so we've got an even amount of padding. So I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to unlink these values, and in bottom I think I'm going to try probably 6. And now that kind of evens it out a little bit. So that's our About Us section. To make sure that our work is saved, I'm just going to click the green update button. And now we're going to move on to our next section. So for this next section, I'm going to use a couple of techniques to make building a little bit quicker and more efficient. We've still got a way to go before we finish this build along, so these techniques are going to be really useful. Let's scroll down to our next section then, and I'm going to click the pink plus, and I'm going to choose one column. As before, I'm going to go to the height, change the minimum height to 500 pixels, and I want to change the vertical alignment here on the left to middle. The rest of these settings I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to style now, and I want the background color of this to match the grey that I put into this shape divider here. So we've already got the sort of outline of our next section. Now we're going to add some content. So this is going to be our services, and we're going to list 3 of our services in here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a heading which says our services. Now I could go to our grid and drag in a heading, change the content and change the style, but there is a quicker way we can do this. We can go to another heading we've used, we can right click on it, and we can duplicate. So now all I have to do is drag this down to our new column in our new section and replace the text. Our services. I'm going to center this, and now I want to put 3 columns below. To do this, I go back to my grid, I'm going to go to inner section, and I'm going to drop this just under our heading. Currently this inner section is made up of 2 columns. We will have a third, but I'm going to show you why I'm not going to add that just yet. So let's focus on filling the content in here. So the first thing I am going to do is go to the grid. I'm going to go to heading. I'm going to drop that in. I'm going to change this first one to end of year accounting. I'm going to change this tag to H3 and I'm going to center it. I'm going to go to style, text color, dark gray, and the typography. I'm going to look for Montserrat again. This time REM2 and a weight bold. I think I'm going to leave the rest of the settings. I'm going to close that. I'm now going to go to the grid again. I'm going to go to the text editor. And in here, I'm going to copy some text. So I've got my text here. Just going to copy it from this document. I'm going to paste it in. So currently this text is going to take the format of my Word document. Just to make sure that the styling settings that I put in actually work, I'm just going to highlight this text. I'm going to click the clear formatting. Remember, if you can't see that, you can toggle this toolbar open, find clear formatting here. I'm just going to clear that. And now any styling settings we make will apply to this text. So I'm going to go to style, alignment, I'm going to center, the text I'm going to make the dark gray as well, and the typography I'm going to go with open sans again, size 1.2 as usual, and the weight I'm going to go with 100. The next thing I want in my column is a button. So rather than going to the grid, dragging in a button like so, what I'm going to do, let me just delete this one. I'm going to go to the button up here. I'm going to duplicate, and then I'm going to drag this down to our column. Of course, this is going to have the link to the about page because we've copied it from this section. So I'm just going to remove that link. I don't actually have a page for this particular service, but this is where I would put that link. I'm just going to type in the button there, learn more, and I'm going to remove the icon. Then I'm going to just centralize and I'm going to leave it on medium. So already we've saved a lot of time by doing this. You know, we don't need to go through the styling, changing the colors and the box shadow. All we have done is copy this button and change some of the content. So the next thing I want to do is change the background color of this column. I'm going to click the column settings. I'm happy with the layout settings here. I'm going to go to style, and under background I'm going to click classic and change the color to a solid white. So my goal here is to have 3 columns that look like cards, and you can kind of start to notice how this is kind of working out. But there's a few other things that we need to do in order to make this look like a card. So now I'm going to go down to border. I don't want an actual border to show, but I do want to change the border radius to, I'm going to put 25 pixels, and you can see that that has now rounded the corners of our column. I'm then going to add a box shadow. I'm going to change the color to this black. I'm going to reduce the transparency to about 0.3, and I'm just going to play around with these settings here. Let's go with 24 in the blur, and we certainly don't want that much for spread. Let's go with that for spread. So we've got 24 in blur and -8 in the spread. So let's close that, and you should now sort of see how this card jumps off of our page. But we need 3 of these, and rather than going through the process that we've just been through, there is a quicker way we can do this. So on our column, we can right click and click duplicate, and we're going to do this another time as well. So I'm just going to delete this column by right clicking on it. So we've got 2 again, and I'm just going to do the same again. I'm going to right click and duplicate, and now all we have to do, apart from some padding and margin issues with the column, all we have to do is change the content. So that's what I'm going to do now. I've got some text. And as you can see, it's carried over the format from the Word document. So all I have to do is highlight it, clear formatting, and you can see how it's now changed to the text style that we set in this column. Let's do that to the third. Highlight again and clear formatting. So I think the last thing we need to do then is add some margins around our columns to separate them and add some padding to make some sort of space around our content. So in the column section of this one, I'm going to go to advanced and I'm going to try 3% margins all the way around. So yeah, we can see that that's now moving away from our other columns. In the padding, I'm going to try 15%, and I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to see what this looks like on our other columns. Now, I could go into the advanced settings of each one, but there is a quick way of doing this. I can right click on our column, I can copy, I can go to our next column over, right click and paste style. If you click paste, you'll actually paste a new column in, but I am just pasting the style. So we can see that that has copied the padding and margin options, or all the styling options even, of our first column and applied it to this second. I'm just going to do that to the third one, paste style, and there we go. If I hide the side panel, we can now see that we've really got a website coming along here. We've got our hero image, we've got an about, and now we've got 3 of our services. So the next thing I want to do is add a call to action. Let's open our side panel. We're going to add a new section. This one's going to be 1 column. I'm going to change the height to probably 200 pixels high, and the rest of these settings I'm going to leave for now. The style, I want to be a solid green background because I think that's going to stand out to our visitors' eyes. I'm going to duplicate this heading up here, the Our Services heading. I'm going to drop that into our column. Now, the grey doesn't really stand out very well on the green, so I'm going to straight away jump over to the styling of this and check what does work. I'm going to go to white, and yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that works well. So I'm now going to change the content, and this is going to be a question. It's going to be calling the visitors to do something on the website. Now we need some text to support this, so I'm going to bring in our text editor. I'm going to grab our text for our call to action. I'm going to paste that in, and again I'm going to clear the formatting. And what I'm going to do to save some time is I'm going to go to our paragraphs up here. I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to paste the style. And now all I have to do is go into the style of our new text here and change the color to white. The last thing I want to do in our call to action is add a white button which says contact us, and maybe a telephone icon in there as well. So I have a white button up here, and it's already got the contact us link in it. I know that because I made it earlier. I could duplicate this and drag it all the way down, but I'm actually going to copy. I'm going to go back down to our call to action, and I'm just going to click paste. All I'm going to do now is add an icon. I'm going to find a phone. Let's insert that, and I'm going to put it after. And there we have a call to action. I'm just going to add some padding. So section settings, 6 white dots. In advanced, I think I'm going to go with probably 2% on this. And there we go. I'm going to click update. I'm going to hide the panel. And there we have it. So I'm just looking at our services here. The spacing between our cards and the bottom of the section is a little bit too small, so I'm going to go back to our services section. I'm going to go to the 6 white dots for the settings. I'm going to go to advanced, and I can see I didn't put any padding in here, so I'm going to go to the percent, and I'm going to put in 3%. There we go. Update again. Let's now preview that, and there we go. That looks great. Let's open our panel again, and the next section I want to make is a section that shows a couple of the latest blog posts. Just to let you know, I plan to do 2 more sections, so this blog one and then a contact form, and then we're going to get on and make the footer. So let's scroll down and add a new section. one column, and I'm going to set our minimum height again to 500. I'll leave the other settings for now, so I'm going to go over to style, background type, white, and the first piece of content I want to do is right click and copy this heading here and paste it into our column. So I'm just going to put in latest blogs, and now to add the actual blogs themselves, we're going to go up to the grid, the element grid here, and we're going to drag in the posts element of Elementor. This is only available in the Pro version of Elementor, so bear that in mind. But we're going to drag this in underneath our latest blogs heading, and already it's bringing through a couple of our posts. We have 3 posts here which are categorized as blogs, and then we've got a 4th one which is categorized as news, and we're going to play around with the query in a moment to get rid of this and just show these 3 blogs. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the skin to cards. Reason being is that less work needs doing to them, really. We've got classic and we've got full content, but cards, they just look nice and neat already. I just need to tweak a couple of things. So we're currently displaying up to 6 posts. Obviously we only have 4 at the moment, but I actually only want to show the 3 latest posts. So I'm going to move this down to 3. And there we go, that's now just displaying 3 posts. The show image option I'm going to keep. We don't want masonry, and the image size I'm actually going to change to full just to improve the quality of the image being shown. Then we've got the title, and I want to show this. We've got the title tag, and H3 is fine. The excerpt we can choose to hide or show. If we select show, you can change the length, and there's also going to be some extra styling options when we do that, but I'm actually going to hide. We've got the metadata, which is down here. We've got the date and comments, and I'm just going to remove comments and leave the date. Read more I'll keep so that the visitors know where to click to in order to read the rest of the post. We've got open in new window. Because these blog posts are going to the same website, I'm not too concerned about this. If I was sending them away from this website, I would turn this on. Just to make sure that when they close that website you're sending them to, they come back to here. But I'm going to leave that off. And then we've got the badge, and we can choose whether we want to show this or hide it. If you click show, again you'll have some extra styling options to play around with. I'm actually going to hide this because we'll only be showing one type of category in here anyway, which is going to be the blog category posts. And finally, under the layout, we've got avatar, and I'm going to hide that. So I've mentioned a couple of times that I only want to show blog posts in this, or posts that are categorized as blogs. So I'm going to go to query. I'm going to keep the source as posts. I'm going to include, and I'm going to include by term, and the term is going to be category blog. You can set categories when you create blogs. In this case, I've got posts that are categorized as either news posts or blog posts. Got a couple of ordering options here, and actually I'm going to leave these. I'm quite happy with how they work out. The first one being the latest blog post and descending from there. I'm going to leave the ignore sticky posts on as well. Pagination, there isn't any pagination because we only have 3 blog posts to show anyway. If there was a 4th one, then we would probably have some pagination appearing here. However, I would select none anyway because I don't want to show that. I just want to show the 3 latest blog posts. If you do select pagination, you'll have a couple of styling options to play around with as well. So I think we're ready to style this. So top left, style. The great thing about these cards is that a lot of the settings are already made and they look great as they are. So I don't need to play around with a lot of these. So layout, we've got columns gaps, rows gaps and things. And I'm actually going to leave those. I'm really happy with those. We can change the alignment if we wanted to. I'm just going to leave it on left. We've got card options then. We've got background color. I'm just going to make sure that's white. And we've also got border color. Even though we haven't got border, I'm just going to set that as white anyway. Border width, going to leave. Border radius, let's go with 25. We can see that the corners are now rounded. Horizontal padding and vertical padding, again, I'm going to leave these as they are because it's pre-made. It looks great as it is. And then we've got a box shadow, and I'm going to keep that on because it's a great way of separating those cards away from the white background. You'll also notice when I hover over the images that there's this sort of slight transparent overlay or gradient that appears and disappears. And that's this hover effect here, and we can choose whether we want to show it or not, and I'm just going to leave it on. It's harmless really. Then we got the meta border, and that's this thin grey line here, and actually I'm going to leave that as it is. We can change the colours if we want to. I'm just going to leave it though, so let's clear that and leave it on the light grey. Then we've got the image, and again the options are fine here. We've got some CSS filters. If we wanted to, we could blur the image, and then on hover the blur could be removed, but I'm actually just going to leave those as default. I think they look great. And in content then, this is where we are going to make a couple of changes. So we've got the colour. Let's go with the dark grey for the title. This is the family, Montserrat, REM 1. Let's go 1.5, and the weight, just going to make sure it's bold. Spacing, happy with. The metadata, so down here, just going to make sure that's the dark grey. There is no separator because I've removed that because I no longer have the comments. There's only one piece of metadata here, which is the date, so I'm going to leave that. And the typography, in this case, I'm going to go with Open Sans. Let's go with 0.7 REM and just a thin weight. Then the read more then. We've got this light green here. It's not quite the green that we use, so I'm going to select our darker green. Typography, Open Sans, REM of, let's go with 1 and see. That's a bit too big for my liking, so I'm just going to move it down slightly, so to 0.9. That'll do. Let's close that, and I'm pretty happy with that. I don't think I need to mess with anything else. We've done the content, we've done the style. Advanced options, I feel like we don't really need to do this either. So that is the blog section. All I'm going to do is add a little bit of padding on top of the section. So the 6 white dots here to go into that. And in advanced, I'm just going to go to percentage. And under padding, I'm just going to add 3% around each side. And now we'll move on to the final section of our homepage, which is going to be a contact form. So let's scroll down to add our next section, pink cross, 1 column, and I'm going to change the height to, again, let's just go with 500 for now. I'm going to leave column position and vertical alignment as it is. And I want this section to stand out from the other sections on our web page. So I'm going to make this a green background, but I also want an image as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the image first. I'm going to go into classic. I'm going to go to image, and the image I want isn't here. So as before, I'm just going to open up my folder. I'm going to drag this image in. It's uploaded now to our website, and I'm going to insert media. So that's now the background of our section. So let's just go through some positioning. So positioning, I'm going to center. Attachment, I'm going to leave on default. Repeat, no repeat. Size, cover. Now let's add a background overlay, which will be our green. So we'll go to background type. Let's add a color. Let's go for our green. And I actually want this to be a bit stronger than this. So I'm going to go up to about 0.85. Let's go with that. So I'm happy with that section for now. Now let's think about putting our content into our column. So the first thing I need is a header. So I'm going to go back up to our latest blogs. I'm going to right click. I can either copy or duplicate. In this case, I'm going to copy. I'm going to go back down to my new column. I'm going to paste. And then we've got latest blogs. I'm going to change that to contact us. And I'm going to leave it as grey for now, even though on a green background it should be white. We're going to change the background colour in a moment to white to make it look like the contact form is on sort of like a card. So I'm going to leave that as grey for now. So now I need to add my form. So I'm going to go to the grid at the top. Let's find form. Again, this one's under Elementor Pro. So I'm going to grab my form tile and I'm going to put that under my heading. And already Elementor has made us a really basic form. And all we have to do is style this. We're not going to have anything fancy in this. We're not going to have any selections or anything in this form. It's going to be very basic, just a name, email, and message. So I'm just going to change the form name to homepage form. I'm happy with name. I am going to make that required though. And to make it a little bit more personal, I'm just going to change the label to your name. And I'm going to do the same for your email. And then in message, in the label, I'm going to put your message. So I could add another item if I wanted to. There's loads of different options here. You've got selections, checkboxes, all sorts. Pick and choose whichever you like. And of course, some could have different styling options in there. I doubt it, but always bear that in mind. Whenever you start using different options and things, you might have new things to style. But for now, I'm just going to have some really simple text fields in my form. So I'm going to delete this one that I've just made. I'm just going to click the X. The input size, I'm going to change to medium, so it's just a little bit larger. We can choose to show or hide the labels. And in this instance, I'm actually going to keep them on. We've then got the submit button options. We can change the text. So I'm going to leave send in there, but I'm just going to put send message in the button instead. There we go. I'm going to leave the size as small for now, and the column width is fine at 100%. And also we've got some alignment options here, but again, I'm just going to go with justified. We can add an icon if we like, but I'm going to leave that. So in the actions after submit, I want to make sure that the form is sent to my email. What I have to do is select from this drop-down list the actions that I want to take when the form is submitted. And in this case, I just want it to email. So I'm going to just leave email in there. You can have multiple, by the way. You can choose to redirect to another page if you wanted to. And then you'd have a new option down here to put in a redirect URL. So bear in mind, whatever you put in here, you'll get a couple of extra options in this drop-down. So I'm going to remove the redirect for now. Let's close that and just leave email in there. Then we've got the email. And in here, we would put the email that we want the form to be sent to. So holler@unimedia.com, for example. Then the subject that email would have when it comes through to us. So this would be a new message from the reliable accountant. You could be more specific. So I could put in web homepage. So I know that it's from the form on the web homepage. Then you've got the form fields. And I'm just going to leave this as all form fields or all fields, because I want the name, the email, and the message to be sent to my email address. We're going to leave the rest of these options as they are. So let's close that one. In the additional options then, you've got a couple of extra things. You've got custom messages. So if it doesn't send, you can change the messages, but I'm going to leave that as it is. So now I want to style this, but I mentioned that I want the contact form to be on a sort of a white card. So I'm going to do that first. So I'm going to go to the column settings up the top left of our column here. And the first thing I want to do is go to style and change the background to white. So we can already see that now we've got this sort of separated card, if you like, that comes off of the background of our section. Let's close that. There's a couple of padding and margin things that we could do here as well, just to smarten it up, but we'll come back to that in a moment. So let's go back to editing our form. So find the blue pencil to our edit form. And now let's explore some of the styling options. So top left, style. Just like the blog post, I'm happy with the sort of defaults really of that Elementor has, but you can explore all of these if you like. But I'm going to skip through quite a few of these. Columns gap, row gap, happy with. Text color, I am going to change that to our dark gray. This is for the label, so that's your name, your email, and your message. Typography, let's go with Open Sans. REM 1.2 and a weight 100. Let's close that, and I can actually see that I'm not so happy with the spacing between our field and the label, so I'm just going to go to the spacing here and I'm just going to increase that a little bit. So I think I'll go with 15. HTML field, I'm going to leave blank, and let's go on to styling our fields. So the text color, we're going to go with the dark gray, of course. Typography, let's go with Open Sans again. Let's go with REM 1.5 as well, and a weight of 100. Let's close that. The background color of our fields then, I want to be the light gray color from above. There we go. Now the border width currently is 1 all the way around. I'm going to reduce this to 0. I'm going to unlink the values, and on the bottom I'm just going to add 1, which gives us this kind of very thin line underneath our fields. sort of brings them off the page a little bit. Then we've got the border radius, and I think in this instance I'm going to go with 15. The button then, we've got normal and hover options. Background color, I'm going to go with the dark green. Text, I'm going to make sure is white. Hover options, I'm going to flip those. So background color, I would like to go white, and the text color to go green, and an animation of grow. There we go. So let's go back to normal, change the typography, and we'll go for Montserrat in this case. Maybe 1.2 and bold. Let's change the letter spacing as well to 2 and close that. I don't want a border in this case, but I do want to increase the border radius to 50 so it's nice and rounded. We've also got the typography of messages. So there'll be a little message when you send a message that says successful or an error. I'm not going to change the colors in this case, but I am going to change the font family to Open Sans just to make sure that those are branded. The default colors will be fine. And we'll just go with 1.2 rem for the size. Actually, we also need to do the font weight of 100. So let's close that. And okay, so we've got our form now then. So we need to style this really, don't we? So let's go to the column settings, and in advanced, we're going to do some adjustments to the margins. So let's see what happens when we increase the margins. Okay, that's sort of going in the direction I want it to go. I don't really want it to come away from the top or bottom any more than it is now though. So I'm going to unlink these values, and I'm just going to increase the margins on the left and right. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's now think about the padding around our content just to create some more space. I'm going to go to percent, and I'm just going to increase this slowly until we've got something that I'm happy with. And I think 6 all the way around is what we want. I want to round these corners as well, so I'm going to go to style and down to border. The radius, I'm going to make 25, and I'm going to add a box shadow as well. And maybe we'll use similar settings as earlier. Maybe we'll reduce the transparency down to 0.3 as well. And there we go. Let's hide the panel. And as you can see, we kind of have a home page here that works. We've got a header image that takes us through to the contact page if we need to. We've got a little bit more about us. We've got some services that we can click through to. We've got a call to action to get those visitors who are interested to call us. We've got some latest blog posts. And then we've got a contact form at the bottom. The only thing we're missing then is a footer, and that's what we're going to do next. So I'm going to open up our panel, and I'm going to go down to our green update button. I'm going to click that. And what we need to do then is we need to go back to our WordPress dashboard. And to do that, we're going to go to our top left burger menu here, and then go down to exit dashboard. And to begin making our footer, we just need to go to templates on the left, add new, and a bit like when we made the navigation bar, we just go to the drop down and we select footer. Then we just give it a name. So I'm just going to go with demo footer and create template. So again, a bit like the nav bar that we made, there are some pre-made options here, some really nice ones that Elementor have made for us. All we have to do is insert and replace the content and colors as we need. However, these are only available on the Pro version. So for the benefit of those who don't have Pro, I will be making a footer from scratch. So to begin with, I'm just going to close this window with the X here. And I'm going to make a new section that is 4 columns. I'm going to go over to height. I'm going to make sure that the minimum height is 400. I'm going to leave the rest of the layout settings for now. I might come back to these when we put some content in, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go to style. I'm going to change the background color to the dark gray, just so it's obvious that this is the footer and this is the bottom of the page. Let's leave the section settings for now, and let's add some content. And the first thing I want to do is add our logo. If I go to the top left grid here, I could drag in the site logo, but as you can see, this is going to be our grey logo, and that doesn't stand out so well. So I'm going to delete that, and instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm in the elements. I'm going to drag in an image element and put that into our first column. Then I'm going to open up the media library using this window, and I'm going to pull through a white version of our logo into our media library and then insert. So underneath our logo then, what I might do is put in an address. So I'm going to go up to the top left grid. I'm going to get the text editor element and I'm going to drag that underneath our logo. I'm just going to tab over to my Word document. I'm going to grab our fake address, tab back in to Elementor, and I'm going to replace the text. So I'm happy with that for now. I'm going to go to style. I'm going to make sure the alignment is left. I'm going to change the text color to white so it's more legible. And I'm going to change the typography to Open Sans. Probably just 1 REM and a weight of 100. As you can see, the weight didn't change then. And that is because I have forgotten to clear the formatting because I've moved it over from a Word document. So I just need to go back to content, highlight my text, and clear formatting. And as you can see, it's now changed to what I want it to be. So the next column I want is a mission statement. I'm going to go up to my element grid and I'm going to select the text editor. I'm just going to tab over to my Word document. I'm going to grab the mission statement there. I'm going to replace the text, and there we go. So I want this to have the same style as my address here. So I'm just going to go to my address, right click, copy, and then right click and paste style on top of my text. I'm then just going to make sure that the formatting is clear so it takes the form of the font family and size that I want. I then think I'm going to add a heading above that that just says mission statement. I'm going to make this a H4, I think. The alignment's fine, and I think I'm going to change the text color to white. The next column, I'm going to have important docs. So I'm going to duplicate this heading, and I'm just going to drop this into this column. I'm going to change the wording to important docs. I'm going to go to my grid of elements. I'm going to go to text editor and pop that under my title. Then I'm going to replace the text with privacy policy and terms and conditions. And to make these links, I just need to highlight the words, go to the link image here and pop the URL to the page or the document in here. In this case, I don't have one, but I'm just going to put a hashtag in there to represent that. And when we click apply, we can see on the right that this is changed to a link. I'm going to do the same to terms and conditions, highlight, click the link, paste the URL, and then click apply. Now this default pink doesn't really work for me. It's not very easy to read. I want this to be our green. The problem is if I go to style and select the text color to green, this doesn't apply. And this is because the text is no longer classed as normal text. It's now link text. I won't go into extreme details as to why this happens really, but to resolve this, all we have to do is grab the hex code of our green, just copy that, go over to content, highlight our words, and then on this little arrow here next to the text color, we go to the drop down, we click custom, and in the hashtag box here, we paste our hex code. If I click into the other box, we can see that this then changes to the green. We click OK. And just to make this more obvious that these are links, I'm just going to underline them. Then we can see now that we've got some important links here in our footer. So what I might add now are just a few final pieces that might be important for our clients to know. So our company registration maybe, or even our VAT number. So I'm just going to tab into our Word document. I'm going to grab those pieces of information. I'm going to go and grab a text editor block, pop that into the fourth column, paste those in, then go back over to my second column, right click, copy, back to my fourth, right click and paste style. Then highlight my words and clear formatting to make sure it takes on the style that I want. So this is almost there. I think I just need to do a couple of adjustments here just to tidy it up. I think what I might do is pop the company information underneath the logo, then perhaps move the address into the fourth column, move the fourth column to the second position, and then perhaps duplicate the mission statement heading, put that above our address, and I'm just going to put address in there. And some other important piece of information we should put in here, maybe perhaps underneath our VAT number, is to say something like all prices exclude VAT, something like that. So I think we are almost there really. There's so much you can do with your footers just to play around. You could put in another contact form if you wanted to. You can just play around with all the elements in here. You can put some social media icons in. And in fact, actually, maybe that's what we'll do. The last thing we'll do, we'll put some social media icons in here. So I've just searched social in our elements. I'm going to drag those underneath here. I'm going to left align them. I'm going to make sure they're square, just like our nav ones. I'm going to change the YouTube one here to LinkedIn. And of course, we can put the URLs to our social media profiles in the link box here. I'm going to leave it on official color. And then in style, let's just go down to icon hover, make them grow. And now these should match our navbar social icons. So let's just hide the panel. And yeah, I think we're pretty much there. I think there's probably some alignment issues we could probably play around with. So let's go to this section, 6 dots there. And let's just have a look, see what we can do. So we've got top, we've got middle, we've got bottom. That's looking a little bit tidier. I'd rather there was this flat line at the bottom of the footer rather than this sort of empty space around here instead. But I think I might move the social icons just above there instead. So now the rows of text are on the same line. And I may even try shrinking. So social icon style, just try shrinking them slightly. Let's go down to 20. Let's hide that. Cool. Let's open the panel. So I think the last thing we need to do then is just kind of try and balance out these headings to make them look a little bit more in line with each other. In the settings of the third column, I'm just going to play around with the vertical alignment. Let's try, we've got middle, let's go with space between. We've also got space around and space evenly. So I think I'm going to go with space between for now. Let's see what happens. Let's change the column here to space between as well. And same again for our fourth column, vertical alignment, space between. So now when I close my panel, we can see that we've got equal height regardless of the content we put in there. I think one last adjustment is going to be reducing the size of the logo slightly because it's a little bit close to the address. I'm going to make sure I'm in the style settings of the logo. I'm going to go over to style, and in width, I'm just going to put it at 60%, and in content, I'm just going to left align that. And just so that it matches the height of our other columns, I'm going to go to the column settings, top left of our column, vertical alignment, space between. And there you have it, a footer. Now, this isn't necessarily the best looking footer. There's a lot more you could even do with this, but this should get you somewhere. This is a really good starting point, and it includes the important information that your footer should have. So let's now go and look at what we have created in this video. So let's open up the side panel. Let's click publish. We're going to add condition, and just like the navbar, we're going to have entire site. Leave that as it is. Save and close. Let's now exit to dashboard. So top left, burger, exit to dashboard, and go up to the name of your website here. Right click, open your new link, and here we have our website. So we've got our navbar, with our social media icons that grow. We've got our hero image, the contact button. We've got an about section. We've got our services. We've got call to action. We've got the latest blog posts. We've got a contact form at the bottom. And to close it off, we have a footer. So congratulations for making it to the end of this video. I'm sorry it's been such a long one, but I hope you will agree with me that by following along, there is a lot to learn. With Elementor, there is so many things you can do, and by following along and building with me, you pick those skills up really quickly. Now the challenge is sort of handed over to you now. So we've made a homepage, we've made a nav bar and footer. Now you need to take your skills and you need to do the same to your pages. Now some of the elements that I have used are only available in Elementor Pro, and I'm sorry I've used those if you haven't got Elementor Pro. If you are interested, you can find a link on the useful website tools page, which you can access via the Hub area. I promise you it is absolutely worth the investment. There is so much you can do with it, but you can still make a decent looking website even without it. Thanks again for watching and staying with me. The next video, we are going to go through our website here, or our web page here, and we're going to make this mobile responsive for tablets and mobiles.